My name is Joel Montalvo.
Hi, my name is Victoria Gonzalez.
I was born in Puerto Rico in a small town as the youngest of a family of 4. When I was 3 years old, we moved to Central Florida.
I grew up here in Long Island, New York, and then for about 8 years I went to North Carolina for college and then stayed there to work for a while.
I met lots of people, a lot of friends. One particular friend is my friend JC, who's also my best man.
While I was working in Charlotte, I met JC, who was visiting his brother at the time. And then after that, I moved back to New York, and JC and I kept up a friendship and kept in touch.
So one day I was talking to JC, and he told me that he knew this girl that would be perfect for me. And so I asked, where is this girl? How do you know her? And he told me that she was currently living in Long Island. And I said to him, no thanks, because I had definitely been jaded with long distance relationships, and he was really smart about this. He would wait and find a little opportunity to just nudge and say, to remind me. One day I was talking to him on Facebook Messenger, and he had started this little routine again, and I said, okay JC, what is it about this girl that would make her so perfect for me?
So one day on Facebook chat, JC and I were talking, and he said to me, so I'm talking about the same thing with another one of my friends, so would it be okay if we included him into this group chat? So I was like, okay.
And in that moment, then he added, or he sent a group message to Victoria and I, and said, hey Victoria, this is my friend Joel, this is Victoria.
Alright JC, I guess, new friend, I guess I'll meet a new friend or whatever.
After that night, Victoria and I started communicating.
Just as friends, and then one day I felt like God was saying, so this is the kind of man I have for you. And I was like, no, God, you're crazy, there's no way, I just met this guy.
We had an opportunity to meet in person when I was going to be going to a Europe trip. I was going to stop through DC. That
August, I went to DC to go take care of my cousins Stephen and Megan. So
we kind of took that opportunity to say, let's meet up in person. And up to this point, we're just friends.
And I was like, okay, so I can take you to this Spanish club. So we went dancing for the evening, and then after that he decided to have us go have brunch the next day, and then we went walking around the National Mall and we took pictures.
But when I got to be in the same place with her, I had left DC with a definite tug on my heart about this girl is something special, and asking God, could this woman be who you have for me? So
I remember coming home that night after going dancing with Joel, and Greta was all asking me questions like, how did it go? And I was like, he's just a friend, relax. She was like, how did it go? Why'd you end up marrying this guy? And I just laughed it off because of how crazy that sounded.
Not long after the trip, our friendship continued growing, and we have great conversations, mainly through Skype.
Joel and I continued to talk on Facebook or text, just as friends. But as I continued to get to know him, I felt like the little hints that God kept giving me of this is the man I have for you, just kept getting stronger.
An interest in Victoria that I decided that I would express to her. And so I laid out my thoughts in my heart. And I told her, I like you. I think you're a wonderful person. If you have any feelings back for me, let me know.
So my response was, thank you, that's really sweet, but I really appreciate our friendship right now.
Needless to say, a few light years ahead of where she was. So at that moment, I did pull back a little bit.
So after that, we continued to talk anyway. I realized how easy it was to talk to Joel and what a nice guy he was. and I just enjoyed spending time talking and hanging out with him. God's voice was now getting stronger than ever, and I was realizing that this was the kind of guy that I wanted to be with, so we continued to talk more.
A couple months after that, start seeing a little bit of a change. The back of my mind, I'm asking myself, are you sure you're not interested in me? Because you are really kind of talking to me more than you had been.
So I finally admitted to him that I did actually have feelings for him, and that we should try to hang out again in person, just now that we had the different perspective that I liked him and he liked me.
Decided to take a trip to New York and spend some face-to-face time. Got a flight for a trip to New York.
So Joel hadn't been to New York City since he was little, so I decided to show him around New York City around Christmas time.
Cold December, being taken to Port Jeff, where there was snow on the ground, ice, chilling, cold wind. I got to meet the family, visiting the city, and just spending some time to get to know Victoria.
I showed him around the city, I showed him Port Jefferson.
End of that trip,
I took Joel to West Meadow Beach. We walked the beach, the sun was setting, so Joel took the opportunity.
I asked her, how about we formalize this and be in a dating relationship?
So I was nervous because I wasn't sure I was ready, and I knew Joel lived in Florida, and that's a big deal because he would live really far and it would be like a long distance relationship. So I told him that I just wasn't ready yet.
But it wasn't a no. It was a let's take it a little easy. Again, I said, okay, no problem. So then another chance opportunity occurred, a work trip to Ohio in January. Conversations had led me to believe that maybe she actually was more ready than she led herself or led me to believe. How about on my way back from this work trip, I could stop by Long Island.
And I was like, well, that's not exactly nearby, but I realized he must really like me to make an effort like that. We got to hang out for the weekend, and by the end of the weekend, we both realized that we really liked each other. So Joel once again asked,
would you like to be my girlfriend?
So of course I said yes.
Most people know any relationship is hard, and the distance element of it is a little bit even more of a challenge.
I knew it was going to be tough doing long distance, but we decided that we would see each other once a month.
And she came some visits to Orlando. I got to show her the city beautiful, have some time at the beach, and go to Disney and Universal Studios. Entrance into the wizarding world of Harry Potter.
We got to go to the beach, met his family, and had some fun.
Going. We've spent an innumerable amount or incalculable amount of hours on Skype, either actively talking or passively just being in each other's company.
So I just knew that there was something different about him. Like, he's literally like my Prince Charming. Many times I ask him, like, are you for real? Because a lot of times he does stuff that like girls would dream of having. I realized that I could truly be myself around him. There's this genuineness about him that I really like. He sometimes can just act really silly and not really worry about what I would think about him. He truly is my best friend, and I totally fell in love with him.
4th of July.
Incredibly blessed with the opportunities to come at various times of the year and spend time with Victoria, her family. Her friends will all have been very amazing and welcoming to me. I've got to see all parts of Long Island, from wineries to the city, to see an opera for the first time, at the Met for the first time, and have my first time snowboarding with Victoria. All those experiences have been phenomenal. I can't wait for having many more with her.
Things started to get more serious, and we actually started to talk about wanting to get married.
The first let her know that I had a feeling for her, I was, a few light years ahead. When I asked her to see if you want to be in a dating relationship, I was a few miles ahead. So I was like, okay, I don't want to be too far ahead. When I actually asked her to marry me, ourselves then having those thoughts that I did want to propose to her.
So I was super career focused, and my graduation from interpreting program was coming up. So I kept telling him, I was like, no, just wait until after graduation.
I was trying to be very cognizant of that, and so I dropped little hints and try to bring it up. I set a time frame in my head.
It would come up in conversation a lot, so every trip after graduation that we had, I was constantly like, is it gonna happen this trip? Is it gonna happen this trip?
In the meantime, I was working up, building up ideas, building up thoughts of what to do.
So I knew it was gonna happen, I just didn't know when.
When I decided that I was going to propose, so how did I get her to be looking nice and having her nails done?
So one day Victoria was taking me to get my nails done, which seemed perfect at the time because I had plans with Katie and Marie the next day to take pictures or something, which I had no idea was Joelle's plan in disguise.
Two of her closest longtime friends, Marie and Katie, and they helped kind of bring up an excuse of how to get her there.
So Katie had told me that she wanted Marie and myself to go to the beach with her, that she wanted to include us in family pictures with her son Owen, so for us to be dressed up. So
I had already a planned trip to come, so she knew I was coming that weekend, but I changed the plans to come in a day earlier. Came in extremely early in the morning and had a moment with Louis at the house, where I also surprised him and asked for Victoria's hand in marriage, the family blessing.
I remember talking to Joelle that day that I was like really excited because I was gonna get to see him the next day.
Throughout the day while she was working, I was at her house, in her space, doing things where she had no clue, preparing. Today is July 15th, 2015. I'm going to propose to Victoria. I am calm, a little tired. I'm gonna get some coffee here in a second to open up my eyes, but I think this is gonna be good. See me pretty anxious but excited. It's a lot of emotion. And
so finally that afternoon, Marie picks me up at my house and she's like, okay, so we're just gonna meet Katie at the beach. So I was like, okay, so we're just driving in the car, talking and having a good time. And when we got to the beach, we met Katie there, and then the girls start walking me onto the beach, and then they told me to go and walk by myself. And when I finally realized that Joelle's there, he's standing in a full suit waiting for me.
I want to see Victoria walking down the beach and totally get shocked, stop, and dead in the tracks because of being so surprised to see me.
Go! Gotta keep walking, girls. This doesn't work. And I finally reached him. I remember saying to him, like, are you a real life person? Because I just couldn't believe it.
For those of you that are interested in the full story, you can watch the proposal video where I proposed on the West Meadow beach. Thanks to Victoria's wonderful friends and her family. I was able to surprise her